Hello, everybody. This is the Pocket Pastor. I'm your host, Randy White. I hope all of you are having a fantastic day. I know I am. It is time for my Week 9 key takeaways. Starting off with number 1, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Patrick Mahomes are my top 3 MVP candidates, with Geno Smith and Josh Allen as honorable mentions. Josh Allen's now had 2 really rough games for losses. Patrick Mahomes, I guess, also 2 really rough games for losses, but Allen's is more recent, and that tends to be the deciding factor for MVP. When you got 2 great seasons, it's really how did the guys finish. So when you look at MVP, it's kind of, when you look at a midseason MVP pick, it's kind of like, if the season ended today, who would you vote for? And right now you have to vote for the undefeated team's quarterback, of course. And then Tua Tagovailoa is undefeated when his brain doesn't get completely jarred to the point where he turns off and just can't play. So when Tua plays a game, starts the game, and then doesn't get knocked out very early in the game, he's undefeated. So he's played spectacular football, and you can tell a very clear difference between that Dolphins offense when he's playing and when he's not playing. They also just acquired Bradley Chubb, which of course doesn't play into his MVP bid, but the point is that the team needs him to win games. When the backups are in, they just don't perform as well. Tua has been kind of the heartbeat of that offense. Like I talked about last week, he does a spectacular job of getting the ball on rhythm into space to his speed receivers, and he's able to allow his receivers to make the best plays possible. He's also the highest rated quarterback by PFF so far this year, which, I mean, some of those rankings kind of a little bit questionable. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league by any means, but what I am saying is that he's had a fantastic year so far. He's been very reliable for this Dolphins offense, and they wouldn't even be close to the same without him. They've needed him. He's been tremendous. I mean, just this weekend, they gave up 32 points against the Bears, and Tua was able to keep their lead and win 35-32, and he played a big role in allowing that team to outscore a Bears offense that was absolutely rolling, and really has been rolling for the last 3 weeks now. As I segue into my second key takeaway, which is that Justin Fields is showing flashes of stardom, and the Bears need to support him with genuine offensive talent now, or it's going to be too late eventually. Like, you can't just wait to get your players the help they need, or they kind of fall apart and they don't last in the NFL. They need a better offensive line, better play calling. The play calling has looked a lot better so far this year. I mean, obviously they're producing on the field, and that's something very positive to look at. But still, receivers struggle to get open consistently, and Fields is having to do most of the work on the ground. He just had 178 yards rushing along with 3 passing touchdowns. First quarterback in the Super Bowl era to do that ever. So really impressive performance by Fields in a game that they fall short due to their shortcomings defensively. And again, this is a team that drafted a defensive coach and drafted 2 defensive players with their first picks in the draft, and they still are not performing even close to what's acceptable defensively, aside from their loss to Washington, where they gave up 12 points. They've just been very disappointing, and Fields is, again, showing flashes, although he's also shown flashes of bust material, but that's par for course when you have a dysfunctional team with a quarterback that feels like he has to do everything possible to make a big play, and a lot of those bad plays are from him forcing throws that he shouldn't have made, and a lot of that comes from the fact that it's a defense that isn't even close to the level of defensive play that they've had in past years, especially with them trading away defensive stars, and offensively, they don't have even close to the caliber of weapons needed to dominate in the NFL today. Green Bay's seen a similar issue where, even though they have a fantastic quarterback, that quarterback play has been really the worst it's been in years, and that's due to the fact that they don't have any receivers to throw to. So similar thing with Green Bay and Chicago, where in both situations, offensive line isn't great. Also, another thing with Justin Fields I'm concerned about is he carried the ball more than any other player on the team. He not only led the team in rushing yards, but he also carried the ball more. David Montgomery had 14 rushing attempts. Justin Fields had 15. That's not something you really want to see out of a quarterback ever. I mean, obviously, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are rare exceptions, but even then, longevity is a huge concern, especially with Josh Allen's running style. But either way, running quarterbacks' longevity is a huge concern when you see them tote the rock more than any other running back on their team. That's something that teams should not be looking to see consistently happen. Fields was effective this weekend in doing that. 32 points is definitely enough points to get a win usually, unless your defense gets up 35, of course. They need to get support around him now or his career will be wasted. 3, I was wrong about the Titans this week. I thought the Chiefs would blow them out of the water. Instead, it became a slugfest that went into overtime and really maybe shouldn't have gone into overtime. Chiefs were able to get a holding call on the Titans defense on a 2-point conversion. And if you look at the play, it's very questionable. Yes, there was a hold by the Titans defense, but also Travis Kelce knocked the DB's helmet off, like completely ripped his helmet off. And there's somehow no call on Kelce for that. I don't know how that works. You'd think at very least it'd be offsetting plays. Now that would mean probably a retry, in which case the Chiefs got it anyway. So I don't know how much it really affected the game, to be honest with you. But either way, Titans put up a really good fight. Their defense played exceptional football. Chiefs offense struggled tremendously to finish drives and get in the end zone. And I was very, very impressed with the fight the Titans had. I was very wrong about them. Now I can confidently say they are the best team in the AFC South, especially with the quarterback woes that the Colts have, the coaching woes that the Colts have now, with Frank Reich being fired and Jeff Saturday being hired to take over for him. There's a lot of turmoil in the AFC South, and I was very wrong about the Titans. Derrick Henry also has regained the lead in rushing yards this season after a slow start to the year. People thinking, oh, this is kind of it for Derrick Henry. Very much so, but contrary there. Derrick Henry is still a very effective runner, again, leading the league in rushing yards as well as rushing attempts. The Titans offense needs to lean on him due to the really major struggles they've had at quarterback. Malik Willis had to play that game, and receivers are getting absolutely no separation. Offensive line struggling to pass block. There's a lot of issues there in Tennessee. We're seeing that from a lot of teams that aren't scoring. They don't have a star receiver. The Titans got rid of theirs and shipped it off to Philadelphia, and look at Philadelphia. They're 8-0 with their star receiver, A.J. Brown, and that offense is really able to do whatever they want, RPOs, deep shots, you name it. They have the entire playbook at their whim whenever they so choose to run whatever play, basically, because they have all the tools at every spot to be able to do it effectively. So when you have teams that are doing it right and teams that are doing it wrong, teams that are doing it right, you look at Philadelphia, you look at Buffalo. For the most part, although they're kind of missing some firepower at running back, they've got a little bit of a carousel there. They got to try and develop some guys and see who pops out on top in the coming years. It would have been pretty much game over if they would have gotten someone like a Christian McCaffrey to open up their offense. Right now, Josh Allen is still the most deadly runner on that team, and that's something that really isn't sustainable long-term, especially with now looking at Josh Allen having an elbow injury of some kind. Looks like there might be some kind of nerve damage going on there. I don't know all the details on that, hoping that it's nothing serious, but it sounds like it possibly could be. So high hopes there that that doesn't turn out to be something overtly negative. And going to number 4, we're coming to a point where Raiders might want to scrap everything. They're now 2-6, despite the moves they made in the offseason, bringing in Chandler Jones in pass rush, bringing in Devontae Adams, Derek Carr's old college buddy, to improve the offense, which didn't happen at all. Their offense is mediocre, and they can't hold on to a lead to save their lives. We've now seen them blow 3-digit leads, or 3-score leads, 3 different times this year, 20-0 and then 17-0 twice. They've blown those leads, and when you have a team that just can't finish, it brings questions about the coaching staff. Josh McDaniels' opportunity to become a head coach once again is not going as planned, despite the fact that he has Derek Carr, who's really been assumed to be a good quarterback for a number of years, had a very good year last year, led his team to the playoffs despite the turmoil, and was coupled with Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, really an all-star cast of skill positions. They lack talent, offensive line, and defensively, their secondary cannot cover anyone for more than 2 seconds. And when the pass rush doesn't hit home with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, teams are just pretty much having their way. They blew a 17-0 lead over the Jags and lost, giving up 27 points to Jacksonville. It's a heartbreaking way to go out, 27-20, and now they're, again, 2-6. Might want to look to scrap everything over there in Las Vegas and just do a complete rebuild, because it's just not working. They were better with Rich Bisaccia as their interim head coach last year, who is now the special teams coach for the Packers. And after this year, given what he did with the Raiders compared to what Josh McDaniels is doing with the Raiders with the better staff, who knows, maybe Bisaccia gets some looks as a head coach, because I think it's time to give him his respect for the job he was able to do, keeping that Raiders team together despite all of the drama. Henry Ruggs, Chucky, I guess you could call him, John Gruden. So just disastrous stuff with Vegas last year, and they were better last year. I guess you could make the argument that all that drama and that turmoil brought the team together and it wasn't all the coaching job. But either way, it's been a much better situation this year, and McDaniels has failed. The entire front office has failed, as well as the product on the field. It's just been a disaster, and it's time to probably move on, send Derek Carr somewhere else where he can maybe win games, or if he really isn't that guy, then he's not that guy. But it's just not working in Vegas. I think it's time for a new look and a new feel on that part of the country. So now moving on to number 5. If Bengals can stick to run game more and run like that, like they did against Carolina. Joe Mixon had the same amount of carries as Joe Burrow had completions, 22 for each. Joe Mixon ran the ball exceptionally well. I was beyond impressed with the way that Bengals offense was able to perform. Joe Burrow was very efficient, 22 out of 28, 206 yards, just 1 touchdown. Joe Burrow also had 4 carries for 9 yards and a rushing touchdown. Mixon, 22 carries at 153 yards at 7 yards a carry. He had 4 rushing touchdowns as well as a receiving touchdown. Mixon had himself an incredible day. 4 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown for Mixon as well. T. Higgins, the leading receiver for the Bengals, 7 catches, 60 yards, no touchdowns. Burrow's lone touchdown went to Mixon. Mixon scored all 5 touchdowns for the Bengals offensively. 5 out of the 6. Burrow had a rushing touchdown as well. But just an exceptional game running the ball for the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals then, their backup running back, Samaje Perine, 6 carries, 51 yards. That's 8.5 yards a carry. Trent Taylor, 3 carries, 18 yards. And then Trenton Irwin, 1 carry for 11 yards. Bengals looked so good on the ground. And if they can maintain that throughout the year, it's going to be very tough to beat them because Jamar Chase is going to come back and that passing attack is going to be back. If Zach Taylor is willing to stick to the run a little bit more and give it more of a chance and the offensive line can block, and give holes for Mixon to run through that effectively, or even close to that effectively, the Bengals are probably the best team in the AFC, especially with some of the woes the Chiefs and the Bills have had. The Chiefs barely winning against the Titans and then the Bills losing to the Jets, which is a very good defense, and Sauce Gardner has been nothing short of exceptional, but nevertheless, Bengals look really, really good. Ravens also looked really, really good last night in their win over the Saints. Really a dominant win. Their defense looked much better. And with no star tight end, Mark Andrews out, and their starting number 1 receiver out, Lamar Jackson looked very, very good. That offense was still able to roll nearly effortlessly over the Saints. So I've been very, very impressed with the top 2 teams in the AFC North, despite some of their missing pieces, despite really key missing pieces, that is. And then, again, Bengals, crucial, stick to the run game, allow the run game to develop. It'll open up the passing game that much more, and it'll protect Joe Burrow because pass rushers won't be able to tee off against him. If they can get that rolling, keep that rolling, that is, they are going to be tough to beat. That's all I got for you guys. I'm going to run through those takeaways real quickly. Hurts, Tua, and Mahomes are my top 3 MVP candidates. Allen and Geno Smith are my honorable mentions. Fields is showing flashes of stardom. The Bears need to get star power surrounding him at receiver and O-line and fast before it's too late. At 3, Titans are better than I thought. Their defense is very impressive. If their offense can show some semblance of consistency outside of Derrick Henry, they can be a genuinely good football team again. But that'll require good quarterback play, good receiver play, and good offensive line pass blocking. And that just hasn't been the case for them this year, especially with the absence of A.J. Brown since he went to Philadelphia and has turned that franchise around. 4, we're coming to a point where the Raiders really just might need to hit the reset button after this year. It's been disappointment after disappointment. They started 0-3, then won 2 out of 3. I thought they were poised to make a turnaround, but then they've lost 2 straight once more, and their season's just continuing to spiral and crumble. They're 2-6. It's looking horribly on all facets for them. They just can't seem to get the job done. They can't hold a lead offensively, and they can't hold a lead defensively. It just crashes on all sides of the ball, and you can't have that from a successful football team. That's how teams fall apart from top down. I mean, the front office crumbles, the coaching staff crumbles, and the players themselves crumble when you just blow lead after lead after lead. You can't have it happen at that level of play, and it's just time to move on. And finally, 5, Bengals need to stick to the run game if they can continue to maintain even a level close to the run game they had this weekend. They're going to be tough to beat, and they might just be the top team in the AFC, especially when Ja'Marr Chase comes back. That's all I have for you guys. If you want to check out more content, make sure to visit my social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok at The Pocket Passer. On Instagram, I posted my preseason record predictions talking about just how well those aged. They didn't age well at all. They went badly. But I posted those on my Instagram at The Pocket Passer. Also check out, we're starting to have some more content on the iForm Nation Instagram, as well as Connor Rives and I are getting kind of record predictions posted out. They're Connor's record predictions that he's sending to me, and I'm getting them out on the iForm Nation. As our schedules start to free up, hopefully in the coming weeks or months or whatever it is, we'll hopefully be getting some podcasts out from the iForm Nation group. We'll see how that all boils down. Still a lot of things to kind of get together there, some complications. But nevertheless, check me out on my other social media platforms, TikTok and Instagram at The Pocket Passer. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to check out my content on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon. I will see all of you in the next video.